Lake George Battlefield Moments, a production of Lake George Battlefield Park Alliance, preserving our area's incredible history. Here's the president of Lake George Battlefield Park Alliance, John DeNuzzo.
Welcome to Lake George Battlefield Moments. Our guest is Sarah Olson, the teacher, librarian, and curriculum coordinator at Lake George Junior Senior High School. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
Now, your position is called teacher, librarian, and curriculum coordinator. Generally speaking, what are your job duties?
So as the teacher librarian, my biggest role is as a teacher. So I work collaboratively with all levels and all content areas. I think that's the best job in the school because I get to work with everybody in that way. I also host literacy activities, really kind of cultivate a community of readers and connection in the library space. And as the curriculum coordinator, I work with all teachers on their instructional practices and developing curriculum across grade levels and content areas.
Boy, it does sound like a great job.
It is. I love it.
We'd like to discuss Rick Atkinson's visit to Lake George Junior Senior High School back in December. How did this come to happen?
So it came about pretty organically. I wasn't there on the very beginning end of it, but Fran Kukoza, our principal, is part of the Lake George Battlefield Park Alliance. And through his role there, he was part of organizing this event to celebrate the anniversary with Henry Knox and wanting to get a notable guest to be a part of that. And Rick Atkinson was a really great fit with his book coming out at the same time. And so once that visit was solidified, they reached out to Rick Atkinson's publicist to see if he would be willing to come into the school to involve our students as well and allow them the opportunity to make that connection.
And having witnessed it and having spent time with Rick when he was in town, he relished it. It really energized him, which was great to see. I mean, he's a very famous individual and with a lot of demands on his time. So he felt very comfortable. It was very congratulatory on your efforts and Fran's and the whole schools in terms of the quality of the kids' questions and things like that.
Yeah, it was great. The part that I kind of didn't extend to was that once we knew his visit was going to happen, we wanted to make it relevant to the kids. And so we had them read for their summer reading one of his books. So the different grade levels read books that were a good fit for their content and their curriculum. So they had read a book of his ahead of time and prepared questions. So that really allowed the rich questioning that they had.
Yeah, that was fabulous. And that was a good background for the students, obviously. What was the format you actually used when Rick was meeting with the students? Yeah,
so we created an environment, and this was really a request from Rick Atkinson and his publicist that it be more conversational than lecture style, which is a great fit for students anyways, to make it feel a little less being talked at. And so it really allowed we were in the library and I was the moderating the conversation, but the questions were being asked by students. They had prepared those questions ahead of time though, and we had them actually have them written on index cards. And so throughout the conversation, I called on students and got a range of their questions. Did the students' interactions with Rick surprise you in any ways? I mean, good or bad? I love the range of their questions. So, we had questions, their understanding of the Revolutionary War. One of the questions I think was there any tea left after the Boston Tea Party? Right. So from a question like that, that's pretty literal in sense, to questions that were just pretty deep and thoughtful in their content. So one of the questions a seventh grader, I think, asked, he asked, if you were alive in the American Revolution, would you be a loyalist or a patriot? And so that was a great conversation. And I think that Rick really enjoyed that range of questioning as well. That's a great question for all of us to ask ourselves, because again, it's easy in retrospect to say, I would have definitely been a patriot, George Washington, but our comfort levels, particularly if we were among the haves at that time, I mean, it's really very disruptive and very risky. And a lot of people like Washington and Benjamin Franklin and others really risked a lot to take up for the patriot cause.
What do you think the students came away with from the experience of talking with Rick Atkinson?
So we had a group of 7th graders, a group of 8th graders, and then a group of 11th graders that met with Rick Atkinson. And that's because those grade levels, the content was a good fit for them. So depending on their grade level, different takeaways, I would say, but overall, just a broader view of history in the world, the things that you can do out in the world. I think I love having authors and have them come and share. Rick Atkinson talked about his role working for the Washington Post and the research work that he does that is speaking my language as a librarian. So, but students hearing that like in the real world, not just in a classroom, is always exciting. I think another takeaway is just that they were valued and being a part of this community experience and community event. And I think they might not articulate that, but I think that there is something communicated to students when they are included in this kind of way in our community. So I hope that that was a takeaway.
You know, even for adults, and I can speak, Rick obviously spent time in the classroom, but he was also at a reception here at the Holiday Inn, and then for a public session at night. And just to give someone of his ilk, you know, with the truly literal global experience, I mean, you know, some adults may think they're well-traveled and seen a lot in the world, but I mean, he's seen war, he's seen peace. He was born in Germany. I mean, he's the son of a military officer. So he's seen a lot of the world. And for him to share that, I think is just very special for adults as well as students. Hopefully that generates some more inquisitiveness for the inquisitive. You know, I hope it does. Now, were you part of Rick Atkinson's meeting with the students who operate the Lake Take, the school newspaper?
Yes. Yep. So that was a conversation and it was open. So we had students who are part of the Lake Take, our student newspaper, and also any other students who have a love for history or writing were invited as well. So that was somewhat on personal invitation, mostly from me reaching out to students who I know have that kind of interest level. So that was a really fun part of the day. It was a little more natural and relaxed.
That's, you know, and that's the impact that teachers and faculty can have. I still remember my 11th grade English teacher who took an interest in me when I was deviating, I think, in terms of just applying myself and things. But she saw that I had an interest in English specifically, not history per se. But that was, you know, still memorable. It was a long time ago, but I still remember Mrs. Harvey and how she encouraged me. I think that encouragement that you're talking about is also very important. Do you think that the Lake Take, I know it's kind of like a new thing, is it, or has it been around for a while?
Nope. So the Lake Take started, I think it was 2018, 17 or 18, when a student came to me with just an interest. We didn't have at that time a student newspaper, and she wanted to start one up. So that's the great thing with a small school. Also, we can try to make those things happen. So it was a lot of fun. At the beginning, we had a really strong interest. And so we were putting out fairly regularly a paper. It kind of, after COVID, it was one of the things that was hard to keep going with. So there's kind of a lull. And this year, a new advisor is picking it up and kind of restarting it. So it is being restarted, reigniting of the Lake Take, but it was pretty strong in its.
Now, Rick Atkinson visited December 12th, the whole community as well as the school. The holidays happened. The students coming back after the holiday break, and since then, have you noticed any, at least for the Lake Take people, is there any tangible difference in how they approach writing or the newsletter or the classroom, or can't you tell that?
I don't know that I have the, day in and day out opportunity to see that kind of a shift in there, but I've had conversations with students that were kind of their takeaways and things that were valuable for them. I know that they have written the articles, they'll be coming out. I spoke to the advisor today to check, and she said they have the article and they're working on putting together the rest of the Lake Take to come out in the spring with that article in it.
Thank you, Sarah. Any final words about the Lake Take or about Rick Atkinson's day at the school?
My favorite question of the day that I wanted to just share, because I think it's it's great to just the thinking of kids. And one of the students during the lunch asked Rick Atkinson what his take was on all these conspiracy theory ideas, which, on the surface might seem like an off topic, but I think he was making that right connection of, here's somebody who really dives into research and thinks deeply about information. And we are doing lots of work with media literacy with our students. And so making that connection of, I wonder what his thoughts are when he's, looking at these historical topics in a research realm. What are your thoughts about conspiracy theories today? And so that was a great conversation to hear Rick's response as well.
And that is pretty deep. Yes, it is. Excellent. Now, adults are interested in history, and I know a lot of adults get concerned about young people and their interest in our past. So next week, we're going to speak again with Sarah and talk about the history curricula in New York and how much exposure our kids are getting to the history topics. So we look forward to that. Thank you, Sarah.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you then.
Okay, our website, lakegeorgebattlefield.org, and we thank you for being a part of our history.
Lake George Battlefield Moments, a production of Lake George Battlefield Park Alliance, preserving our area's incredible history. For more information or to check out the latest podcast, go to lakegeorgebattlefield.org and listen live on Saturday mornings to Lake George Battlefield Moments on 93.5 Lake FM.